Good morning, namaskar, and adab. Welcome to another exciting episode of Zed Talks. I'm your host Shaharyar Zaidi, and today I have with me a very special guest, Mr. Saurabh Vij. Uh, before I start off with our talk with Saurabh, I would like to tell you about Zed Talks, where I sit down with some amazing entrepreneurs, freelancers, social workers, artists whom I get to know during my community management days. And now I get to talk to them about their work, their personal life, and more importantly, what they do, how they do. So, to talk about my special guest today, Mr. Saurabh Vij, I would like to tell you more about him. He is Saurabh Vij is a particle physicist, and he was working in some of the biggest physics lab in the world, and he left all of that and came back to India to start off his entrepreneurial journey. Till now, he has already worked on two startups. He's working on his third startup now, which is in the field of supercomputing, and the last two startups he made them successful and raised funds for them, and now he's working in the field of supercomputing, and I'm so excited to talk to him about his current work, his past work, his journey till this point of time. So let's welcome on the screen Mr. Saurabh Vij. Hi Saurabh, welcome to
Hey
Zed
Zaidi, how
Talks.
are you?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm good.
So Saurabh, as you know, the you know the format of this podcast, we get into more details about your current work. You're working as the CEO of Q Blocks right now. You're the CEO of this company. We would like to know more about it in the come in some time now. Uh, Also, would like to know more about your thoughts on entrepreneurship uh, in India, and you have spent time outside also. Is there any difference in them? And what is the advice that you would like to give to the coming entrepreneurs who would like the budding entrepreneurs? What do you like to tell them? So, sort of, first of all, why don't you tell us about your current work right now? What is exactly that you're doing? You know, you told me that it is like democratizing the supercomputing. So why don't you tell us more about that first?
All right. So, Zaidi, what we are doing right now is something similar, which has been, available, I would say, in the scientific domain for the past almost 20 years. So, just a little backdrop on how it all, got started. So, in early 2000s, uh, there was a professor and a student at Stanford, and they actually, decided that they wanted to study astronomical data. And although it started, as a joke initially, that hey, why don't we, look for aliens in that data, and we won't get that kind of permission from the department itself. So then, one of the students, and he, collaborated with the professor, and he suggested that why don't we ask people out there in the world who are passionate about the same thing to donate computing power from their laptops, which is sitting idle a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the root of this idea that when my laptop is sitting idle, it can compute data for astronomical, astronomical, projects and purposes. But it can also process and compute data for other scientific projects. Like for example, and this actually, this triggered a series of scientific projects started from multiple different organizations all over the world. Uh, to give you an example, folding at home is another similar project. They use a technology called as distributed computing.
Mm-hmm.
And just doing this, folding at home has become world's biggest supercomputer with over 1.5 exaflops of computing they have done just using idle laptops from like consumer laptops that we have today. So that that really fascinated me for a very long time, and I've seen one of the supercomputing facility at CERN, where I worked as a particle physicist few years back.
Okay.
And I always, the idea was to bring this in the hands of everyone because it's right now is restricted in the scientific domain only.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's nice to know.
So yeah, so based on that, yeah.
Cool. So, Saurabh, during this podcast, I didn't only want to know about your entrepreneurial journey or the starting of it. I also wanted to understand, of uh, of how did you, just give me a second, of how did the whole journey start from further back during your school and the college life. uh, were you always the studious one? I'm assuming that you were looking at your profile now. And I mean, were you that Sharma ji ka beta because of which we all were getting a beating at our homes, and we were shown you as an example of what an adarsh student should be? So were you that kind of a student? Why don't you tell us more about that?
Okay, yeah, that's a tricky one. Uh, so I was, I mean, how do we define Sharma ji ka beta, by the way?
So Sharma ji ka beta is that kid who always tops the class, and yeah, he basically tops the class, and he is scoring the best marks, and because of which we are given innumerable example of you as a student that you should be like Saurabh. Look at Saurabh.
Okay, so if you go by that definition, I won't say that I fall in that category directly, but in a way, I fell into that. So what happened was that I was always passionate about science, basically anything science. I would read books, watch TV shows. At that time, there was no YouTube, which made life easier. Actually, if you really want to, study something, you can go onto YouTube and you can read. Not read, but you can learn anything. So at that time, it was all Discovery Channel and all those things. So I was
Hmm.
always fascinated and passionate about science. So, but I was never cared about marks. So if you looked at this person during childhood, I was never getting any marks. I was not interested in marks
Don't
actually. So
tell me. Don't tell me
that's the
about not
core
getting
key.
marks.
I'll give you one number. During ninth class, I got around 57% or 56% something, and uh, I
Oh
really
God.
got yeah, and so I don't see there was any future.
Okay.
If we judge a person from the Marx
Yeah.
perspective, and a lot of people did judge. How competitive the society is and
Hmm.
was at that time also. So,
True.
but something happened. So you know in 10th class, if you want to have science, most of these schools have a requirement that you do. You are above a threshold of marks and percentages and whatever they care about. So
Correct.
and before boards exam in 10th, you have this pre boards.
Hmm.
So during the pre boards, I got really really low number. It was
Okay.
mid 50s, I think. It was somewhere early mid 50s. That's
Okay.
it, like 53%. But I wanted science, and they were not, giving me that. They were like, no. I mean, and I was like, the board's exams has, it hasn't been there yet. How can you judge me on that? And I really want to study science. How can you, stop me from doing that?
Correct.
So I had to
Correct.
bring my father, and he
Okay.
had just, got an accident, and he had. It was very tough for him, but he did that for me. He went to the school and argued, with the principal and everything,
Hmm.
and they were like, we can't. To these kind of students who can't score, we can't give them science. It was
Okay.
that simple for them, and it really frustrated me for two reasons. One of
Hmm.
them that you're judging someone's passion and creativity for a
Hmm.
particular subject based on his marks, overall marks. So, for example, why the fuck do I need 90 in social science or in arts or anything if I'm passionate about science?
Correct.
Similarly, if I'm passionate about cricket, why should I score any marks at all in
Correct.
any other subject? So
Correct.
that was my whole frustration. And the second was, in a way, they humiliated my father,
Hmm.
and that got got to me, I would say. So I found refuge, I would say, in spirituality. Started reading a few books. Uh,
Hmm.
Paramahansa Yogananda, I would say. I've never been a religious person all my life, but it was
Hmm.
about spirituality.
Hmm.
And just to shorten the story, the thing was this entire thing, this path of spirituality during those days, they gave me a very solid belief. And
Hmm.
the belief was that you can do anything with enough practice, with
Hmm.
enough learning. You can actually build on that and you can do anything. So I
Hmm.
took it as a challenge that, okay, let's try this out.
Hmm.
Maybe it's all fluff, but
Hmm.
let's try this out. Let's,
Hmm.
really try to score. I
Hmm.
took that as a, challenge.
Hmm.
And I trained my brain, everything. And in 10th class, I became the topper. So I got from 55
Whoa.
something to 80, 80, 80, 88 or something or 90. And
Nice.
and then my father was called in again, at the school. And then he very proudly asked them, now you don't want to give him science? And they were like, if we don't give him science, what kind of student would we, give science or these kind of subjects to? And that's the thing,
Nice.
that's how fucked up our system is right now. The education system needs an overall change.
Totally.
Uh,
I
it has
agree.
to be driven, by the interest and passion of people instead of marks, scores, and percentages.
Hmm. I can totally, and these things have not improved at all. They've only gotten worse. My cousin, she's studying in this premium school, and where they have already made groups in like ninth or tenth class as per your
God,
marks. Like if you are scoring this much marks, you're in like a premium IIT group, and you will be taught in a separate class. Students scoring less than that will be in like IIT B group, then there is PMTA premium group. So all of those things are still there. They've only gotten worse, and nothing has improved at all. So yeah, that's there. So and then
uh,
how
I
did
mean,
the
based on some
yes,
of the, yeah.
yeah, sorry, you were saying.
No, just on that, basically, I've gone deep into psychology, and based
Mm-hmm.
on that, I can say they are destroying their future. Because
Okay.
when you are at that age, when
Mm-hmm.
you're 10, 11, 12, 13,
Mm-hmm.
that age your mind is really impressionable.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm planting a belief in you that, hey, you're not good, you
Mm-hmm.
belong to the C category, you belong to the
Mm-hmm.
B category, it
Mm-hmm.
will stay with you for your entire life unless you aggressively change that. And that's a problem. That's a very deep problem because they're destroying their future. This is too bad. I don't know how this would change.
Correct. But anyway, going ahead from there, then how did you land up at CERN and all of those amazing labs in the world? How did that happen? If you can, share that with us also, coming out from your school, going to college, and then landing up at the place where the God particle is being discovered, or still they are still discovering it.
Oh man, yeah. Where do I start? So I mean, I'll okay. I'll start again with the passion. It's
Uh-huh.
all about passion. I mean, uh, it can really change you as a person. It can bring in that commitment that is required. So
Hmm.
just to uh, I believe in this theory that if you really want to master a field, if you really want to become the best of the best in a field, you need to spend 7 to 10 years of your life.
Okay.
And it's not going to be easy because it's not just about spending time. Uh, it's about solving hard challenges
Mm-hmm.
during that time, because then only you're growing.
Mm-hmm.
And you can only stay in a field for 7 to 10 years when you absolutely love it, deeply
Correct.
love it.
Correct.
And somehow I found this in physics.
Okay.
So personally speaking, for me, it's kind of religious. It gives me that visceral feeling
Mm-hmm.
that you can only get from a religion.
Mm-hmm.
Physics is religion for me, and it has stayed like that. So when
Mm-hmm.
I was at that time, I just dreamt about working at biggest labs in the world like Fermi or CERN or Atomic Energy Commission and these kind
Mm-hmm.
of places.
Yeah.
And so I just followed that path. I never even gave like IIT entrance exam and all those engineering exams. I never gave that because I was very clear that, hey, I will do bachelor's in physics. And that
Okay.
that was a problem with some of the relatives. I don't
Okay.
I don't know if I
Okay.
should mention that, but some of the relatives, they really wanted to manipulate my parents into making me do engineering or medical and all those things, which were the two core options at that time.
Absolutely.
So, but uh, I just want to do physics. That's it, all my life. So I followed that path, applied for bachelor's in physics, got into Hansraj College in Delhi University,
Mm-hmm.
and post that it I had a very narrow, some clarity. I wouldn't say I had extreme clarity because I'm not Oracle. So I just had some clarity that, okay, in physics, I will do something. And one of the clearest paths is that you do bachelor's, master's, PhD, and then you become professor, you
Hmm.
write papers, and you do your research and all that. So that was the path I was following. So after
Hmm.
after bachelor's, I wanted to apply for master's in, science and physics.
Hmm.
Now, during that time, it was a new course and it was with about something which I was like passionate about, which is
Hmm.
nuclear and particle physics.
Hmm.
So that course was an exchange program which was between Delhi University and University of Paris. So
Okay.
in Paris is like the center for nuclear energy,
Yeah.
and so that was one of the biggest change in my life. So I got into that program. There were only 12 students from the entire country in that program, and
Nice.
so
Nice.
they had this entire, yeah. So first year was in India, Delhi University, and then the second year was in France, where we were actually visiting real nuclear power plants.
Okay.
I can't tell you that feeling when you actually go there and you see a nuclear power plant and you see uranium rods also in their raw form, and
Mm-hmm.
so that was mind blowing. And like I mentioned, always wanted to work in some of these kind of labs. So especially those days, Large Hadron Collider,
Hmm.
it was gathering a lot of momentum. A lot of
Correct.
scientists wanted to work on Large Hadron Collider at CERN, and so there's this professor who was also the chairman of this course. He came to France and
Mm-hmm.
he just asked that who wants to work at CERN, but there is no there's an internship the opening there, and but there is no salary.
Mm-hmm.
And all the I would say other students they already had internship in their hand at some of the different nuclear plants and everything,
Mm-hmm.
and I just wanted to visit CERN and work at CERN. So I said, check it. I don't care. I don't give a fuck about your salary. I just want that. Just give me this opportunity. I want to work at CERN. And uh, maybe he saw something. So immediately next day I got a mail that hey, I'm introducing you to this professor at CERN. Let's get you there, and
Awesome.
that's how
Awesome.
uh, so they interviewed me, and then I got there, and uh, so I worked at Sun for a while, and then later on I worked on my PhD, which was at Atomic Energy Commission in France, which is called a
Yeah.
CEA. It was again in particle physics, and so uh, yeah, that was a journey, till particle physics and the yeah, and during that time. Uh, Something changed, I would say, in my mind. It was late 2011, early
Mm-hmm.
2012. Nirbhaya happened
Yeah.
in India,
Correct.
and that really triggered, that if you are, I ask this question that if you're so scientific, if you want to develop technologies and discover, things, why can't you find a solution for something as bad as, Nirbhaya? So I wanted to solve this problem using technology. So
Mm-hmm.
I went back to India, started a venture in this
Mm-hmm.
domain, which was a wearable device. So something like, like we have Apple Watch today.
Mm-hmm.
It was in 2012, like before wearables and IoT stuff. So we pitched this idea to the uh, Ministry of Communications
Mm-hmm.
in India, and they loved it. I don't know why they loved it. Maybe they really wanted a solution, or maybe they just wanted to, I would say, pacify the all the riots that were happening those days, or all the protests that were
Mm-hmm.
happening those days. So I don't know the real agenda, but they gave me this opportunity that okay, you want to develop this, you have a solution. So I had this entire blueprint. Okay, this is
Mm-hmm.
how the technology will work.
Mm-hmm.
These are the different solutions. These are different scenarios,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll tackle all these problems this way. I need a team. I need this much funding. I might even need a professor of computer science from some department.
Mm-hmm.
So they really loved it because it was not just an idea. There was a real strategy behind the idea. There was an entire blueprint. So based
Mm-hmm.
on that, they gave me one condition that since if you're a company
Mm-hmm.
and you have a ready product, we can
Mm-hmm.
give you an order. But if you're not a company and you want money for R&D, there is
Mm-hmm.
a different path to it. You need to collaborate with a university,
Okay.
and that was really tricky, to get a university and a professor on board for this project. It was really difficult because I had to convince them, and they gave me around a month to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So we started visiting different universities, from Delhi College of Engineering to triple IIT to IIT Delhi and everything. And finally one professor at IIT Delhi after like 25 rejections. This professor at IIT Delhi, he was convinced.
Okay.
So he got on board, and finally we got the grant. And although the grant money, took another 9 months to reach
Oh,
IIT Delhi, but
okay.
this professor, was really passionate and he really wanted to see some change.
Mm-hmm.
So he pushed forward and he took out some money from the computer science department and started the project to build this, wearable device for women safety.
Okay.
So that was my first startup.
Okay.
We collaborated with IIT Delhi to build this product, got the grant, and then after like 2.5 years of building the product and commercializing it, finally this bigger company, they uh, they had this thing basically. They had a good distribution, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
They were into jewelry.
Mm.
So the idea was your technology, like our technology with the jewelry, we'll combine that and sell it as smart jewelry, which
Okay. Nice.
could be more accessible, to women and girls. So that's how we collaborated, and then they hired us, gave us some equity in the company. So that was the first, I would say, kind of an exit
Mm.
that I got from my first startup.
Nice. Nice. So now, Saurabh, if we have to talk about your jump, where already you have given us an idea about how you left the PhD research and then you got into the entrepreneurial world. Uh, but looking at all of that journey and from your own experience now, if I have to ask you this, my next question, which is entrepreneurship for everyone? Now that you have worked in this field for a considerable time now, what are your thoughts on it? I mean, there are so many people who are having ideas and they always believe that we can do it if we have those resources with us, we have the time, because they're all doing their regular jobs. But do you think is entrepreneurship for everyone?
Well, that's a tricky question. uh, Although, in my heart, I would say everyone should be an entrepreneur because you get freedom. Freedom not from work, but you get to work on things you really love. You're really
Okay.
passionate about it, and I would say the growth curve
Hmm.
at a personal level and at the work level during a startup or during entrepreneurship is much faster, much faster. I would say it's in multiples as compared to when you're working for someone else or
Okay.
when you're working in a job. So that's one of the biggest things. So I would say yes, everyone should become an entrepreneur, and I would rather say the definition of entrepreneurship in the past 10 years has also expanded. It's not, before it was just either you can be an employee or you can run your business, but
Hmm.
now I think even if you are selling content, if you are doing a YouTube, you have a good YouTube channel, you have a large following like Joey Rogan,
Yeah.
he has a podcast.
Yeah. Zed
So
Talks.
I
Zed
don't know,
Talks.
I mean, with this Zed Talks, yes,
Zed Talks.
Joey Rogan of India,
Oh
right?
God.
So
Please don't say that, please. Yeah. Yeah, please. Anyway.
no, if one day we can start talking about LSD and DMT, you don't know in which direction we can take this.
Correct, correct. Okay, yeah.
So if you expand the definition of entrepreneurship, not just as a business, but someone who is creating value and he
Hmm.
is able to deliver that value to a lot of people in a profitable manner, I would say that's entrepreneurship. So even artists, they're entrepreneurs because they are creating art and then they're selling it. You are a musician, you are a scriptwriter, you are a movie director. All of them are entrepreneurs at heart, and because they're creating stuff and then they're selling stuff.
Hmm.
The hard part of this is actually selling stuff because what happened in the past 10 years is a lot of engineers or people from scientific background, they turn to entrepreneurship. They are good in building technology, they are good in product design and innovation. The problem comes in when they have to sell because there is no experience with selling. And this is, I would say, one of the biggest difference that I've seen in India and many
Hmm.
other countries is that in India, if you want to build, so there are two ways to build a business. You can do a bootstrap, it's all your company, or you can have
Hmm.
investors on board. So one of
Hmm.
the problems that I've seen in India is that investors expect you to be a good salesman too. So
Hmm.
which is a problem. I'm not saying you can't learn everything. You can learn everything in life
Okay.
if you want to. The problem is, do I need to spend another 2 3 years to learn to become a good salesman, or I can hire an expert and he can
Correct.
sell in those 2 3 years and we can really build the company. I'm an
Correct.
expert in building products. Why can't
Correct.
I hire a sales guy who is another expert in selling?
Hmm.
And that's the system that I've seen in Valley. That's
Okay.
why Silicon Valley is Silicon Valley, because
Okay.
few experts who are really masters of their game,
Hmm.
they come together and they build something together. That's a very different approach as compared to, where you expect a tech entrepreneur to sell.
Hmm.
He can sell, but it will take him longer to sell as compared to, an expert. So that's one of the hard part, and that's where the question I think comes in. That is entrepreneurship, for everyone,
Hmm.
because ultimately you have to sell. You have build something, you have to sell if you really want to, build a company.
Hmm.
Uh, so my suggestion would be to always, get a co-founder who can really, do the stuff that you can't do. So if you're a product guy, you
Hmm.
need to have someone who can do marketing and sales.
Hmm.
Uh, One of the myths, which has been, I would say, propagated by media and by movies is like people emulate Steve Jobs. And Steve Jobs was a rare combination of, someone who is brilliant at product design, who is brilliant at product and innovation. At the same time, he was brilliant at selling a vision and
Correct.
marketing stuff.
Correct. Correct.
Now the problem is a lot of innovators try to emulate that,
Hmm.
and that's a very big mistake. We should not try to do that. Yes, you can learn, but it will take you much longer, and in that time, you're losing all the revenue that you could have made
Hmm.
if you had hired a great sales guy or a marketing guy. So don't try to be, Steve Jobs. That's a Steve Jobs syndrome
Nice.
that we have seen, in a lot of entrepreneurs these days.
That's a nice. That's a nice conclusion to this particular question. Everyone who is trying, who is a budding entrepreneur, don't try to emulate Steve Jobs. Just as they say in roadies, be yourself.
Yeah, yeah. And yes, and you have to learn, you have to learn different aspects of running a business, from finance to raising capital to doing sales and marketing. You need to
Correct.
have that knowledge, and
Correct.
you need to be in those meetings. You are the person who is actually selling, but you
Hmm.
need to have that solid hand with you.
Hmm. Cool. Cool. Okay then. So then coming on to the next question, which is an interesting one for me, and I would like to get your thoughts on that. That if you had 15 minutes to spend with your former self, and you could give him an advice which would save him from the heartache and the whole pain or that entrepreneur journey in the starting, what would you like to tell him during those 15 minutes if you had that time today to go uh,
Oh,
back in the journey?
uh,
What
there
would
are so many
you?
lessons.
But the
There are
important
so
ones,
many lessons. I
the
would say.
important ones, yeah.
Yeah. We can focus on some of the biggest ones. I mean, I would say these are some of the biggest mistakes that I have made, and I've learned. So this is my third startup. Uh, During my first startup, what so we all, especially this is especially about, people who come from the product background or innovation or scientific background. Now, what happens is we fall in love with our idea
Correct.
so much, so deeply, that we assume that whatever we bring to the market, people are, lining up
Hmm.
like they do for Apple iPhone. They
Hmm.
would line up, to buy our product, and that doesn't happen. Nothing moves by itself.
Hmm.
That's like one of the biggest lessons. And the mistake here is, uh, launching very late. So
Hmm.
if you have an idea, if you have that concept, validate it with your target market immediately.
Hmm.
Spend more time on that. So because unless you are, building a reusable rocket, or you are
Hmm.
working on nuclear fusion or any hard, scientific challenge, you're
Hmm.
like building something like transferring your consciousness to a laptop, let's say you
Hmm.
want to build that. So
Hmm.
these are hard challenges, hard technical challenges and scientific challenges for which you would need a lot of time. But if you're not doing that, if you're running, a regular product driven startup, but it's not that kind of product, I would say from my own experience that product ban jata hai.
Okay.
Given enough, resources, product, you can build your product, you can hire people who can build your product, you can build your product. But
Hmm.
uh, if it is not that kind of hard challenge, start with distribution at the center. You should focus on how are you going to sell it, who is your customer, and how does your product, how would your product change your customer's life
Hmm.
dramatically? Because unless it does that, guess what? People are busy,
Hmm.
and they are entitled. The entitlement is very high today. So
Correct.
the thing is, people are like, hey, So let's say, just to give you an example, let's say you are building a new content platform like Netflix.
Hmm.
Now, I would have a simple question: why should I give a fuck? I'm
Correct.
in love with Netflix. I'm in love with all the shows that Netflix built. So unless you absolutely know what I love, you
Hmm.
absolutely know my taste,
Hmm.
you cannot build something. So
Hmm.
that's why I think I would focus on distribution and customer love. You have
Hmm.
to start with that, and based on that, you should start working on your product.
Hmm.
So just to give you an example, in my first startup, I was so deeply in love with the innovation we were bringing to the market. We were saving lives with the
Hmm.
women safety product,
Hmm.
and we assumed that it would automatically sell. And the
Hmm.
biggest mistake is that during it took us 2.5 years to really build that product.
Hmm.
It won't take that much time today. It is pre wearables time. It took that much time to really put a GPS chip in such a small set,
Hmm.
with battery and everything, all those
Hmm.
things in such a small space. It
Hmm.
was a challenge, but we never made any effort to talk to our target audience, which is girls and women. We never talked to
Hmm.
them
Okay.
in depth. We talked
Okay.
to few of them, and in a way we were just validating our beliefs. And
Hmm.
that's why after 2.5 years and after that acquisition, sales were not that high, as compared to now, going to my second startup. In my second startup, we did not write even a single line of code before talking to customers,
Okay.
and
Nice.
we spent around 3 months,
Hmm.
three to I would say 5 6 months, in just studying the market, studying what the customer really need. And
Hmm.
what happened was, it really destroyed some of our assumptions, and it really shaped
Hmm.
what we should build and what we should not build. And that really shortened our time from 2.5 years in my previous startup to 6 months in my second startup. And that's, I think, one of the biggest lessons, that don't fall in love with your idea. Go out immediately, talk to 10 to 50 people, and really validate. Does that change their life dramatically? Would they really pay for that? And then, based on, and shatter all your assumptions. Always assume that all your assumptions might be wrong. So based on that, then shape your product.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
That is good to know, and that you're right in that way that there are people who just start, they think about an idea and they start working on that product, knowing themselves, as you mentioned, that our product will, this will be a great new thing. That will just shake the world, and people have not heard about it, or they don't have a product for it, or our product is so much superior than the other solutions in the market. And then when they really launch, they get to know the reality. So yeah, you're true about right about that.
And I've fallen in that trap. We all do. I just
Correct.
want others to save time, because this is a very hard lesson. And you should really start with customer and distribution, because
Hmm.
uh, distribution is really a key advantage. If you
Hmm.
don't focus on distribution, sooner or later you have to. Because like I mentioned, I also believe that when I have this product in my hand,
Hmm.
people will line up to buy that product, and that never happens. You have
Uh,
to work on marketing, messaging, communication, and
hmm.
finally building up those distribution lines and partners who will really help you in selling that product.
Hmm. Correct. Okay, Saurabh. So my next question for you now is another. We always think that money is the motivating factor for everyone. Now, being an entrepreneur yourself, and this is something that I would also like to understand from you: is money the only motivating factor? And if not, what is the other means to keep them motivated? Because I understand that not everyone will be able to align with the purpose with which, if I'm starting a company, they won't align with the purpose with which I have started that company. They might be in here for a with a different motivation, coming from a different background, with you know different things to do. So what is your take on that? Besides money, as an entrepreneur, what are the other things that they can do, that people can do to motivate their team?
Hmm. Okay. I think about that a lot actually these days. I mean, this is really important.
Mm-hmm.
So just to gain more clarity, is it about the entrepreneur himself, or is it about the employees?
No,
Or both?
uh, it can be both, but I guess entrepreneur is much more motivated than the other people, because it's his own baby, or her own baby, and they have already given so much from their side in terms of the working on that idea, just building that thing from the ground up, right? But if a person who is joining you at a later stage, they might not have that kind of motivation. So for particularly for them, for your team, what are the other things apart from money?
Okay.
For an entrepreneur, it can be multiple things, but for a team, I won't like to know more.
Okay. So I think I would say it changes with the stage of the company. So let's say you're an employee at Amazon, something as huge as Amazon. I
Mm-hmm.
think money really motivates. Money is one of the very strongest motivating factor for employees to work at Amazon because it's really stable and gives you job security and many other things.
Correct.
Uh,
Correct.
but if it's about a startup, in the early stages, it's like fighting a war because you are up against big companies, and in a war, so if when you're fighting, you need that fight in you. You need that intensity in you, and money can maybe pull you out, but not to that extent.
Mm-hmm.
It is there has to be, and no one can do that for you. For example, let's say you're passionate about cricket.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I cannot trigger a passion in you about football. I can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe for money you might work. You might practice. A football for a month or something.
Mm-hmm.
But can you do that for 5 years? Can you do that for 7 years? Because that's the average time it takes to really shatter. I would say the market dominance or exist or to shaken up the market share in a specific industry.
Correct.
It's on average it takes around 5 to 7 years. Things
Okay.
like Instagram, which from ground up to to exit, it took them around 18 months. I guess they're
Mm-hmm.
outliers. So let's not focus on that.
uh,
Let's
uh,
focus on most of the startups, which mostly, if you, for example, if you want to build Uber of the world, if you want to build Airbnb of the world, if you want to do something that big or that challenging,
mm-hmm.
it takes around 7 to 10 years on average, and it's still very challenging, even at that stage. Now, only your pre-existing passion or fire can only sustain that. That's number one, because you have to stay there for 7 to 10 years. So your team has to be a combination of people who really, really want something to exist in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So, like for example, I'll go back to 1984 or 85 when uh, Apple launched Macintosh.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you interview those people today, if you've seen those interviews, or every single engineer on that team, they did not give a fuck about money. They were paid decent money,
Mm-hmm.
but beyond that, they were always poached by Microsoft or many other companies. But they did not give a fuck.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because they were passionate or driven by this one singular vision that we need to bring this product into the market. The world needs a Macintosh. That's what they believed in. They failed. Who cares?
Mm-hmm.
They failed. They learned from that. But what really drove them for those 3 years when they were building this was pure hunger and passion to materialize this singular vision that they had. That's number one, I would say. The second thing is about having fun and having a flow state. So I'm big into cricket, so I'll again give you an example,
Okay.
and big in physics. So if I'm playing cricket, I can do that for 6 hours. It's not
Mm-hmm.
work for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's all fun. I'm not getting tired. I don't
Mm-hmm.
need to drink coffee. I don't need to do anything. I'm just playing cricket.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a ball, give me a bat, and I'll do that. Same for physics. And at CERN, where I worked as a particle physicist, I saw people. They were coming at 2 a.m. in the morning.
Okay.
They were even sleeping there.
Okay.
Nobody is telling them to do. The timings were around 8:30 a.m. to 4 and 4:30 or 5 p.m. That's it.
Okay.
But people used to stay there for like till 10 p.m., 11 p.m. They were coming. Sometimes they were coming early in the morning. It's hunger, it's passion,
Mm-hmm.
and you can't trigger that in anyone. It has to be there itself.
Mm-hmm.
So as an entrepreneur, I would say, if you don't have to motivate, you have to motivate people. I mean, time to time, but
Correct.
your number one job is to find those people who are already passionate about this thing that you are trying to build, and find those people. It's like when we let's talk about kids. Like when you are in kindergarten, just observe those kids.
Mm-hmm.
Automatically, you will see that they will start creating groups. There
Mm-hmm.
is this group of kids who are just into drawing,
Mm-hmm.
and if you are into drawing, trying, you will just automatically go there and you will stay there for hours.
Hmm.
Similarly, if you are into, playing football, you will just start, talking to those kids automatically. You won't have
Hmm.
any shame also. You'll just go there and start playing with those kids.
Hmm.
And I think that's what we are. We are these, we're kids at heart. We are just, grown up now. But at the end of the day, uh, if you really, want to master a field, if
Hmm.
you want to build excellence, you need to stay in the game for 7 to 10 years in a particular field. And you
Hmm.
can only do that when you deeply love that, when you reach a flow state. And flow state, by flow state, I mean you forget time. Like I said, when you're playing cricket, I forget. When I'm playing cricket, I forget time. When I'm doing physics, I forget time. So find something where you really forget time for yourself. And similarly, when you hire people, you need to have this eye to find that thing, because a lot of people, fluff. They say a lot of fluffy stuff that
Totally.
I've done
Totally.
this, I've done that, I'm passionate, you know. So it's very difficult, to really dissect that. But
Hmm.
so you have to spend time with them. With the new hire, all the new hires. As an entrepreneur, it's your number one job to spend time with them to really understand their value system.
Hmm.
Because when you are starting up, you are fighting a war with very big companies,
Correct.
and you're trying to create something new. You
Hmm.
are not just with war with big companies, you are in war with the entire market itself, because the market is not going to accept your product unless you are aggressive about it, unless you really believe in that thing. And it's
Hmm.
not just about you as an entrepreneur, it's about, I'm talking about you as the company.
Hmm.
And if your company has 10 people, they have to be like aligned with a very powerful force that, hey, we believe in this, we are behind you, we are going to help you. And this work that we are doing every single day is so much fun that's
Hmm.
not even work for me.
Hmm.
When you reach that, when you have 10 people for who, for those people, work is not really work, it's fun, it's like playing cricket,
Hmm.
then you can do something like Interstellar. You can build something, as big as Interstellar.
Nice. Nice. That's nice to know. And as we all say, in Nolan we believe. Coming from that point.
Oh, the world needs a Nolan, and world needs 1,000 Nolans. But yeah, Nolan is very rare.
Correct.
and
So,
and he he has never gone to any film school.
oh, nice. I didn't know about that.
All self all
Oh,
self-trained, completely self-trained.
respect infinity level up तो पहले ही ज़्यादा थी now तो it's like even more. Okay, so Saurabh, I can't hear you.
Hello?
Yeah, now I can hear you. There was something.
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Okay.
So, uh, Saurabh,
No, I was just talking to Nolan.
yeah.
He finds people. Yeah.
So, Saurabh, my next question is the one that I was really interested in asking you is who is the bigger visionary? Is it Jobs or is it Musk, the Elon Musk? What is your thoughts on that?
No.
And for some reason there is an echo. Have you made any changes in the settings or something?
Oh, yeah, my AirPods, they just, some battery issue. Just give me a few seconds.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's better. Yeah.
Can you hear me now? Yeah, it's just the battery.
Uh,
Yeah.
so yeah, as I was
So
asking you
okay,
between Musk and between Jobs, who is a bigger visionary, and what are your thoughts on that?
okay. Oh man, what I I mean, this both are gods. Both are gods for me,
Okay.
and they're very different people, I would say. But I mean, it depends, on the lens through which you're looking at them.
Hmm.
So first of all, both are gods. So we are mortal beings trying to judge them. It's not really good. We are just so yeah. I mean, but okay. So let's use it. I would say different lens. So let's talk about someone who
Yeah, but if you
has
had to make
done
one of them
something.
like the Zeus, and the other one, a smaller god, one has to be like the gods of God. So who will be that?
Okay. Yeah. So my personal frame of work, I would say, is I look at things from time perspective. So
Mhm.
would I remember, or let's say we all live, for next 500 years.
Hmm.
Would we? Would I personally? I would say, would I personally remember Steve Jobs? I'm not really sure, but would I? I
No.
respect him deeply, but would
Yeah.
I remember him? No. But would I remember Elon Musk? Damn,
Yes.
yes. He is
Yes.
the guy
Yes.
who changed everything, who brought us to, who made us interplanetary. I mean, uh, so if we look at this from a time perspective,
Hmm.
it's like Einstein, it's like Galileo, it's like Newton. You
Hmm.
would remember these people for next 1,000 years because
Correct.
they have done something which changes the entire course of humanity.
Correct.
So Elon Musk is there. Is he's there. Yeah, I mean, if we talk about vision from that perspective. But having said that, about Steve Jobs, I think we should spend some time on that. I would say because he did something which was considered impossible. He turned around Apple in a very different manner, in a manner that we really crave for it. It He also revolutionized industries. But that's the thing. You would remember him for next 50 years because he brought us
Exactly.
into this, the
Exactly.
smartphone era. But beyond that, it's Elon Musk.
Yeah, I totally agree with your point over here also. Elon, Apple or Steve Jobs worked in one particular industry, right? I mean, it was consumer electronics, and whether it is iPad, iPhone, Mac, it's all related to one specific industry in a similar, somewhere relatable product lines. But when you talk about Elon Musk, he's working on he has built the best electric car that we have in the world right now. He's working on rockets. He is building tunnels under city. He is he has built a
And the
flamethrower.
reusable rocket.
Reusable rockets, correct. Reusable rocket is the bigger.
He was, and just there's a funny thing which recently happened. So I mean, we all have seen that he is into PR. He does a lot of
Correct,
publicity stuff.
correct,
We all
correct,
know that.
correct.
Uh, Having said that, so I was having this conversation with a scientist. She is a very senior scientist at CERN, and
Okay,
he visited them, like some time back.
okay.
And so I asked, so we were discussing about some publicity stunt that he had done, those
Hmm,
days. We were
hmm,
discussing that, and then she said something beautiful.
hmm.
She said, when you build a reusable rocket, you can do anything after that. Because
Very,
he has
very
done something which
okay.
NASA was not able to done.
Correct.
NASA, Russia, China, nobody has done that thing.
Correct.
So
That
then you can do anything.
that's a very simple way of saying it. That once you do that, you can do anything. फिर कुछ भी करो, कोई नहीं mind करता. That's
Exactly.
that's awesome.
Uh, he deserves all the PR. It's like Virat Kohli. When Virat Kohli, uh, in his early days, he used to sledge a lot. We know that he used to abuse the ballers and everything. Look at him now.
Hmm.
He still abuses, all the ballers when he can. But we are like, to kar le yaar. You do your thing. If that's what
Ah,
drives your cricket, just do that.
totally. Totally. And even after that, he's building gigafactories. Now, and I was watching behind before the flood, in which he said to Leonardo DiCaprio that we just need about 100 of these, or even lesser than those gigafactories to conserve the whole world and nature. I mean, when you are
Exactly. Yeah, solar is enough. Solar is
exactly.
really enough if you build it the right way.
Exactly. So when you are working on that kind of scale with that kind of a vision, I mean, I don't even consider anyone near to him, whether it is Jeff Bezos or Steve Jobs, even for that matter. I mean, you're correct that he has done which he should be credited for, absolutely. But in comparison, I think Elon Musk has gone ahead, like way ahead than everybody else.
He's on those lines, like Edison, Einstein, Newton. He's on that kind of line.
Hmm.
Like there is this line, you draw this line, and it's above this line you put people like Sachin Tendulkar, Raju Hirani, Nolan, and Elon Musk. And below that you have all
Okay.
humanity.
Okay. Nice.
He has crossed that line now. So
So, so sort of uh, after jobs, I know that you have spent now that you spent considerable years in entrepreneurship. I always want to, hear some stories from, from entrepreneurs like you. There have been some funny instances or interesting stories that you must be having or you must have experienced in all these years that, we can get to know. And before, we go to the last part of this talk, we can, have it a bit on a interesting or a funny end.
there are many stories, but I think one of them, which is coming to my mind right now, I think is during my second starter.
Okay.
So just to give you a brief about that, so what we were doing is we were using data analytics and AI to help buildings save energy. That was the whole concept.
Yes. Yes.
Now, so we met this investor. He belongs to a very reputed, investment firm at a pre-seed or seed stage. Even
Okay.
they do invest at an angel level, right? Okay.
Okay.
So, and during that time, me and my co-founder we were pitching, all across, at
Mm-hmm.
multiple conferences, at multiple pitch sessions and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he met us around. I mean, he saw our pitches almost like 4 or 5 times. And during the fifth pitch,
Mm-hmm.
he was sitting with my co-founder and he was reciting my pitch. And then,
Okay.
okay, now he is going to talk about blockchain. Now he's
Okay.
going to bring AI. This is how much he is going to save. So he was reciting my pitch.
Oh, okay. That's
That
interesting.
was really funny.
Cool, yeah.
And then we met him after that, and he was like, "Hey, I know your entire pitch." And so I was like, "No, no, no, I need to add something." So, and it was like 2017, blockchain, Bitcoin, crypto, AI, VR, AR, everything was hot. So I
Hmm.
was like, "Okay, what do you want? You need blockchain? We'll add that. You need AR, VR? We'll add that." So, although I won't recommend anyone to do that, it was just a funny instance with him because he said
Hmm.
that this is what's going on today. If you add a blockchain to your name, you get funded. So I was like,
Hmm.
okay, what else
Correct.
do you need?
Correct. Nice, nice, Saurabh. So, Saurabh, thank you so much for sharing all those interesting insights, talking in detail about your journey, starting off from your school life, where you said that you were not interested in physics. You're not interested in anything apart from physics, but you were judged on basis of that. Then going to Hansraj College, going to CERN, and then coming back to the entrepreneurial world, building 3 startups till now. It has been really interesting and amazing to talk to you. And another thing I would like to tell you that I haven't told anyone till now, when I was promoting about this particular podcast, and uh, I posted a story, just describing your profile. I didn't even mention your name. I got replies from about 8 to 10 people saying, "Can you hear me?" Saurabh, I can't hear you. Saurabh, I guess your AirPods have died.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can, but the echo will be there now.
Okay.
Yeah. So as I was saying, uh, when I was promoting about this particular podcast, I just mentioned your profile. I didn't reveal your name. I just mentioned your profile that he has done masters in nuclear science. He was a particle physicist. Worked at CERN. Left that. Came back to India. Started his entrepreneurial journey. I didn't mention your name. I posted that story. I got about responses from about 8 to 10 people saying, "Is it Saurabh Vij?" I I didn't expect that. Yeah, but I realized that
Okay.
that you have made that impact in your short stint over here, and now that there were these college students I knew back from Spring House days who were telling me that is this Saurabh Vij, and it was, yeah, I guess I was like, yeah, he's Saurabh Vij. So kudos to that. You have made
That's.
an impact.
I hope with this new startup. I really, because this is really close to my heart because I've gone back to my physics roots, and because we were using, sorry.
Nothing. Please continue.
Oh yeah. So during my physics days, we were using supercomputers, for particle simulations. And when I left that field for entrepreneurship, I no longer have access to supercomputing and all those things. So I'm super passionate about bringing this technology into the hands of every data scientist or designer in the world because I know how much time it takes to run your to train your models, to render your designs, or to work on your simulation if you don't have a powerful computer with you. So at a very base level, today what we have done so far is it's something like Airbnb or Uber of computing. So on this side, you have someone with a very powerful computer and on this side we have data scientists and designers who can use this machine. And we have built a software to enable this. So that's the dream. One day, a brilliant scientist in Nigeria, let's say, and he can get access to a supercomputer for the cost of a Starbucks coffee. That's the
That's
entire vision behind it.
That's awesome.
And I
So,
really hope, because that would be the impact if we can get that.
so now, if right now, if somebody wants to know more about Qblocks, where can they go for that? Where can they find more about Qblocks?
Just qblocks.cloud. It's
Qblocks.
everything. We have shared everything there, and you can use some free computing credits to train your model if you're a data scientist.
Nice. So everybody, you can go to qblocks.cloud and get to know more about this mind-blowing venture where Saurabh is democratizing supercomputing, where this noble cause where a scientist sitting in remote corners of the world can use that power and do their work without any hindrances. So I guess that's a very noble cause, and more power to you, Saurabh, and to your complete team. And now, before we bid you goodbye, we have already, and everybody, you might not be knowing this right now, but Saurabh is currently in Canada, and it's midnight over there, and he has taken out time from his busy schedule for a small podcast of mine. So thank you, Saurabh, again for that. That is the reason. So a lot of people who are asking me why are you doing it at 10:30 a.m. in the morning. This is the reason, because my guest is taking out time at midnight, so I can surely make time in the morning.
And yeah, I mean, and thank you so much, and thanks for your audience too, because we had to find this middle ground. I think it's Sunday morning, so it might be early for a lot of people, and because it's Sunday morning, we
Yeah.
want to, rest. So yeah.
We want to make most of it while sleeping. So Saurabh, my last segment is just a small fun quiz, and I know that you are a big Nolan fan. Not a big Nolan fan, but there are other favorite movies which you have. So I took out some famous dialogues from those movies, and I just wanted to see if you are able to identify which movie dialogues are they, right?
Wow. Okay. Okay. Let's try.
Let's try that also.
I'm nervous.
Yeah. So the first dialogue is, here's me putting an idea into your head. Don't think about elephants. Dot dot dot.
Is it like okay? Can you please repeat that? And is it we are talking about a Bollywood movie or a
No, no,
Hollywood
it's
movie?
it's all it's all Hollywood. Here is me putting an idea into your
Hollywood.
head. Don't think about elephants. What do you think about? Dot dot dot.
Oh.
The hint is in
Is it
the
Pirates of the Silicon Valley?
no, 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 no.
The hint is it?
The hint is there is a word in the dialogue itself. Here is me putting an idea into your head.
Idea into your head.
Into your mind. Sorry, idea into your mind.
Inception.
It's Inception. That's right.
Inception.
It's Inception. While
Another.
yeah,
Oh man.
while they're picked up from when they aren't able to do their first work in the perfect manner, and then Sato picks them up from their house and put them into his helicopter, and this conversation happens over there.
Between Caprio and Tom Hardy.
No, not Tom
Is
Hardy.
it that?
Seto. When Seto tells him that, I want you to
Oh,
do this work for me.
oh yes, yes. Now I get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. The next one. Okay, this is from a TV show. Just hold on. No. It's not from a TV show. It's from another amazing movie. Don't go gentle into that good night.
Come on, man. It's Interstellar.
uh,
It was too easy. It was
yeah.
not.
Nice.
I love that dialogue and the way he, says that. Mind
Yeah.
blowing.
Yeah. I just did it. I just spoke it in the same manner, with that same intensity. I know.
Exactly.
Okay, and the last one
That
is
made it easy, actually.
the last one is from a TV show. It's another amazing TV show. So the dialogue is: Some people choose to see the ugliness in the world, the disarray. I choose to see the beauty. Which one is it?
Hmm. Steve Jobs?
No,
No.
no. He
No.
is
Just give me.
he is
Sorry.
he's closely related to our favorite director, the person who is directing this show. He's there
Which
in your.
show?
That's you have to tell.
No, sorry. What was the hint?
He is a brother of our
So
of our favorite director.
Westworld.
Yes, that's right. Westworld it is.
Oh, I mean, I don't know if there is a word, for like an orgasmic word. So that's what Westworld does to you.
Nice. Oh, and if we go on to that, we will have to spend another hour on Westworld if we start
Oh
talking
yeah.
about that. So, Saurabh, thank you so much. That's all from my side for today, and thank you again so much for taking out time and sharing your insights. And I'm sure that everybody who joined us had, had an amazing time. They got to know so much from you about your journey, and the belief that that belief that if you believe that you can that you want to do something, you will ultimately do it, right? We just need to have that belief and the rigor to do and to just follow it.
Yeah. I mean, you have to take risk in your life,
Risk. Yes.
and because in this reality, in this reality, you need. This is if you take universe time frame, this is really short,
Hmm.
really short. You won't even believe how short this is from the framework of the universe. It's just 60-70 years,
Hmm.
and your youth is around 40-50 years. That's it.
Correct.
So just focus on your deep passions and try to find a way to sell that, basically, because that's when you will do the best work of your life, and that's how you will be very, very happy, very deeply happy. So
Correct. So thank you so much, Saurabh. Now I would like to bid goodbye, and we'll stay in touch now
awesome.
more than we stayed earlier. I'll be staying in touch with you, and everybody. Thank you so much for joining us on this Zed Talks episode. And if you like the episode, please like, share, and subscribe. I have rectified it today so that I can say it. So please like, share, and subscribe this episode, this channel, and see you in the next episode. Take care. Bye bye.
Awesome.